Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I have some really fun products to show you in today's video, and these are products that are going to help you create some quick and easy cards, but they're also kind of no-brainer cards. They have the design laid out for you. This first die set is called Colorful Burst Flower. And then I have a BetterPress plate, and this one is called Kaleidoscope Garden. Isn't that stunning? Sometimes when I'm crafting, I don't want to have to think up a new design. I just want to sit and create. And that's what I'm going to be doing with these cards today. So let's start with the Colorful Burst Flowers. I cut out all of these pieces. This is all Spellbinders cardstock that I'm using. The hardest part of this card is figuring out which colors you'd like to use, but you can't go too wrong. There are 4 layers for this blossom, and I'm going to attach this small piece with the polka dots on it onto a piece of gold mirror cardstock. This will give it a little bit of shimmer, and then I can attach it to the center of the flower. You could add foam squares in between some of the layers if you'd like to add some dimension. I'm going to do everything pretty flat for this first card. Oh, there is actually one more layer, and it's these little thin petals or greenery, whichever you choose to use it for. And these can either go in between the blossoms or coming out from the blossoms like I'm doing on this flower. I used a postage edge die to cut out some white cardstock, and I'm going to add some color to this with, I believe this color is called Watermelon. It's a positively saturated ink. I'm starting at the bottom right corner and working my way up to the top left corner on a diagonal. I want my darkest color to be at the bottom. The postage edge die that I used is a little bit larger than your typical A2 sized card, which is 5.5 by 4.25. But I'm still going to use an A2 sized card base behind it. But first, let's put down our flower, and it shows you exactly how to put it down. They fit perfectly if you use the design that they have laid out for you. So we'll put down the flower and the stem first. And if you look on the packaging for this die set, it'll tell you exactly where each leaf needs to go in order to fit this card. So this first leaf will go at the top right, and I'm kind of overlapping it onto the stem. And then the next leaf fits right into this curve of the stem. Again, I'm overlapping it onto the stem just a little bit. My first time using a die set, I'm just trying to play with it and figure out how it works. And then after that, you can put your cards together a lot faster and change things up if you'd like. Let's put the last leaf down, and it just kind of curves bottom of this card. Now I can attach the card base. I'm going to do this with a little bit of glue so I can wiggle it around. This card base will be a little bit smaller than my main panel. I'm trying to center it on the back of this card panel. And then I decide to come in with a little more ink to add more interest to this card. So I'm using some Distress Oxide inks. I'll use this yellow color just right down the centers of these leaves. And I'm using Distress Oxide ink because it does sit on top of this colored cardstock, and we'll be able to see it really well on this cardstock. This fossilized amber ink matches really well with the Tuscan cardstock, the more yellowy bloom on this flower. And then I'm going to bring in some picked raspberry and add it over the velvet rose cardstock. I'm using some small stencil brushes just so I can get into these small spaces. So I have a few videos that I meant to publish a long time ago. I'm just happy I'm able to finally publish this one. But we've had a bit of a rough start to our year so far. So we had water leaking in our basement, and we could not figure out for the life of us where it was coming from. My husband and I staked out the laundry room in our basement just so we could see where the water was coming from. And we discovered that it was just gushing out from underneath our stairs. So this is an older house that we moved into. Let me stop here for a second and get back to the card. So I'm adding some gold sequins around this panel, and I added a sentiment that just says, "Sweet Day." This is a note card that you can just send out anytime you'd like. And here's a close-up look at this. And again, this is called Colorful Burst Flower. Spellbinders has other die sets that are similar to this in the fact that each die cut has a specific place it needs to go. However, you can mix them up if you'd like. I created a second flower card off camera using lots of different blue cardstocks from Spellbinders, and then some dark blue ink on the card panel, as well as the leaves for this card. And I think this one's my favorite. I love how this turned out. I also used some silver sequins on this card. And here they both are side by side. The blue one is the regular A2 size. For card number 2, I'm using the BetterPress plate. And again, this is called Kaleidoscope Garden. This plate will fill up your A2 sized card panel. And again, it's a very easy card to put together. And if you like coloring with your colored pencils or your alcohol markers, then you're going to love this plate. So I'll put this on my BetterPress system, and I'm going to ink it up with some black ink. I like to ink it up a few times, make sure I get some good coverage. And then I'm using the porcelain cardstock or cotton paper that they suggest to use for this system, but you can, of course, use any kind of paper that you'd like. Now I can put the door back on, and I'm going to take it off camera and run it through my Platinum 6. Let's see how this turned out. Isn't that beautiful? Let me take it off the door and peel off the yellow tape very carefully. Then I'll give you a close-up look at this stunning panel. And of course, you have the texture along with it. So I'm going to use my scalloped die as well as a heart die for this panel. And I'm going to do a little bit of spotlight coloring. I wasn't in the mood to color the whole thing in. So I'm just going to spotlight an area with the heart die. Here it is cut out with the scallops. That looks so cute. Then I'll tape this heart die in place. And then I'll just color this heart in off camera. I'm going to use my Copic markers for this. But back to my story. So this is an older house we moved into, and the water leakage would only happen at night. It was so strange. But come to find out, the plumbing in this house was just shot. So it was leaking every time we used the kitchen sink or the dishwasher or the washing machine, but it was leaking underneath the house in the crawl space. We had no idea. So we called out a plumber, and come to find out we needed completely new pipes in the whole house. So it was just a nightmare. We couldn't use our toilets or our kitchen or any water for 3 days. Fortunately, at nighttime, the plumber would rig some pipes so that we could use the downstairs bathroom. But that whole project is done now, fortunately. We now have a lot of holes in our walls in our laundry room and our bathrooms and our kitchen that we need to patch up. So we're going to start working on that next. But fortunately, we have our toilets and our showers and tubs and kitchen sink up and running again. And all of the plumbing in the house is now up to code. There may be a lot of work ahead of us, but we are just happy to have running water again. So that's what I have been up to lately, and I hope that your year has had a better start to it. So for this last card, I'm just going to pop up the heart with some foam squares and then add a sentiment. This says, love you. This will make a great Valentine's card or an any occasion card. But it was really fun to color in that small heart with my Copic markers. I put a little bit of gray Copic marker around the flowers and the leaves. I've seen some people color in the whole background, which looks stunning, or some have even just used some ink over the whole panel, some different colors of ink. But again, it's kind of a no-brainer. You can color it in, add a sentiment, and send it out to your recipients. I'm adding a few pink sequins around this panel. And then let me give you a close-up look at the finished card. I'll put one more sequin right on the heart. And here it is all done. It's so detailed and pretty. So again, if you want some really easy and quick cards to put together, you might want to check out these dies. I will have the links listed in the description box below. Thanks for watching, everyone, and have a wonderful day. Bye.